Hello. Good morning, you guys. Um, so I have, um, I want to chat this morning about, um, well, I guess it's about consciousness, but I'm going to use myself as as the example. I'm going to talk about um, consciousness. I'm just talk about what I've become aware of about myself, and maybe maybe as I'm getting older, I'm becoming more selfish, or maybe as I'm doing more work around consciousness, I'm becoming more aware. I don't know. I don't know which it is. Maybe I've always been really, really just uh, self-centered, and it's been hard for me to see. In the 12-step world, it says that the nature of our difficulties is selfishness and self-centeredness, and that we're driven by 100 forms of fear and self-delusion and self-seeking, and that we step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate. And it's hard for us to see that. It's like, it's really hard to see that that is, who we are. And I mean, we have a lot of cliches. We say, "Oh, love is all that matters," but if I don't look at myself, if I don't take the time to see myself in everyday life, or if I don't have friends who have courage enough to speak to me sometimes about how I'm being, then it's very easy for me to stay in the illusion that I'm okay. What's your problem? And that would be an illusion. So um, self-examination is the key, and not an easy task, because it's hard for us to see ourselves. It's definitely hard for us to see ourselves. It's a unless life really falls apart, and as you know, I'm in recovery, and there's been several times, since I first sobered up to now almost 40 years later, where life has fallen apart, and I've seen how my behavior, generally selfish behavior, has created that, in my life, and I'm a slow study, I guess, so something came up in the last few days, and it's been around this isolation thing, I've seen that I haven't always been considerate of others, and like some of I wanted to make these masks, and I thought it was such a great idea. I was really excited about it, and because they're you know they'd be so cool, right? But I didn't really consider that asking my friend Katie and whoever she could uh, um, dig up to come and help was maybe inconsiderate. I just didn't think of that. I thought, my house is safe, but I don't know that. Like, I just don't know that. There's people coming and going here. Trevor's been living at the Mustard Seed and coming here, and although he's now here full time, and Nathaniel goes out and comes in, and we've been going to meetings and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't know that, and I can't say that I know that my house is safe, right? I can't, and that's okay for me, but not okay for me to bring others into my home, but I just didn't see it. I was like, oh gosh, this is what a great idea this is. We're going to make these masks, and it'll be fun, and have the material. And I went out and bought some more material, and everybody, lots of people want them, but I don't have anybody to make them, but I also see it's not just that I don't have anybody to make them, but it's not fair for me to ask. It's not fair for me to ask, you know, people to come here and do it, or so right now it's on hold, and but out of the whole thing, though, I saw that I can be arrogant, and just imagine that I'm invincible, and that I can be really selfish, and lay I trip on people that, wow, you should want to do this. This is going to be a lot of fun. So, and I did all of that. And I woke up in the morning, this morning with, oh my gosh, it didn't seem like I was being selfish in the moment. It was like, oh, this is a great cause. People want these, and it'll also help us, to pay our rent and all that kind of stuff. And, it was just, it seemed like, but I didn't look at the whole picture. So, and I see that, that the whole idea of how do we live a God-centered life or a love-centered life, and we seem to think that focusing on service and can be helpful, and it can be. If we're helping others, we're working with others, that is, that can be helpful to bring us more into that feeling of love. But also, I think if we can see ourselves and be prepared to let go of our fear, to just surrender our fear, to maybe say a prayer to let fear go. If we can, and fear is very elusive. Fear tells us, has a voice of its own. It's not always crippling, panicking fear. It's just subtle fear, and it tells us that we need to look after ourselves and da 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 da. So watching for that, and surrendering that, and letting fear go is a piece of the puzzle of awakening, and to see myself in my selfishness, in my guilt, shame, fear, allows me to let it go. Just, okay, wow, I see, and I'm not that. I am not that. That is the illusion of me. All of the things that I think I am, that I want to protect, I'm not. I am the essence. When I'm living a more God-centered or love-centered life, life flows. And so I've let go of this idea. I just let it go. Fuck it. It's not, it's not, I don't have a right to endanger other people and to ask them to do this. So the time will come. If it's appropriate, the time will come. And if you know anybody that would love to do it, have sewing machines or whatever, well, then we could maybe talk. But right now, there's nothing. I just see that I was being selfish, and so I apologize to Katie and to her friend, and for not thinking of them, and anybody that I have been selfish with in the last while. It's not always easy for me to see it. I had a situation recently where I was house sitting for a friend, and I did a half-assed job. I didn't do a really great job, and I wasn't entirely honest all the time, because I didn't like, she'd give me this little room in the basement. I didn't want to sleep there, and it just, and I wasn't honest. I didn't tell her those things, and I got a resentment. So dishonesty often comes from fear. I didn't want her to, I didn't want to tell her that. I was kind of afraid to tell her that, boy, I don't like this room. I'm not very, it's not where I want to be. I have a beautiful room at home. But I wanted to do her a favor, and and it didn't go well. The house got broken into, and I wasn't staying there all the time, so that can be messy when we're not honest, and sometimes we're dishonest out of selfishness, out of fear. It can be messy when we're we get in resentment. So yeah, I think it's so important to I think it's so important to tell the truth, to be as honest as we can, to pray to be honest, to find the courage to be honest, and to watch ourselves. How if we, and if we have friends that we can talk to, and that can tell us the truth, then of of what they see, even it's their perception, you know. Um, yeah, there's interesting in the 12-step community right now. There's very, very few meetings, 12-step meetings going on. Very few locations left in the city. All the churches have closed. We 12-step usually meets in church basements, and there's a real school of thought around the whole thing is that you know we should close everything because we shouldn't be getting together, and you know addiction, alcoholism and addiction kills tens of thousands of people in this province, in this country, in North America, you know, hundreds of thousands of people every year. And a lot of those people don't have anywhere to go right now. And they're not savvy on Zoom. And they, you know, they need that personal connection. So it's a real, you know, some of this can be very subjective, this idea of selfishness, you know. I'm willing to spend time with those people, and I'm spending time with those people because I believe that's my job, and you know, and I have friends in the 12-step world that say, look, you're being selfish to do that. You could spread the disease, and well, I feel like many of us who are still working with addicts and alcoholics and are really, we're healthcare workers. We are, you know, even if we're not officially healthcare workers, we're there to keep the balance, you know, and to help, you know, bring love into those situations. But not everybody sees it that way, and so sometimes it's subjective. We can judge each other, say, you know, what do you know? I thought you were here to help, and now you've got yourself locked in the basement, and you're not coming out. You know, so I have to recognize that everybody has to make their own choices around this, and you know, and follow their intuition. And if you know, if we're coming from fear, that's what happens. You know, and if we're coming from love, both. I mean, love can say stay home, you know, and love can say go out and help. And so it's just, it's all how that we interpret it. So anyway, I know that as a recovering addict and alcoholic, that I have to watch constantly for my selfishness, for when I'm trying to control the world and you know, and carry that message. That's the main thing for the alcoholic, isn't that he drinks or uses and loses control when he drinks and uses. The main thing is his thinking, or her thinking. We're generally selfish and self-centered. We're trying to run the show, and we're angry if we can't. So we're self-centered as opposed to where the 12-step world takes us to, which is God-centered. And if you have a trouble with the concept of God, just use love. Love-centered is, everybody sees love as a higher power, so just use love as your higher power. What would love do? And I mean, every church basement in the world has a sign and it says God is love, you know, and so we can use that, and because lots of people are, you know, have dismissed any idea of God, said no, there is no God, or if there is, you know, or have a very limited idea of God. So anyway, I encourage you to, you know, and for me, I want to share this because if I don't talk about my own selfishness, if I don't kind of expose myself, that I can be very selfish and unthinking and careless with people sometimes, you know, then I'm hiding it. And if I'm hiding it, you know, I'm only as sick as my secrets. So yeah, that's it. So I want to just give a you know, kind of a hats off to all the healthcare workers that are out there right now. You know, the treatment centers have people working every day in them. Thank you for showing up every day. You know, the people that are in the treatment centers, people that are in the like the mustard seed and the DI. In every town, there's a drop-in center or a mustard seed type of place. The shelters, people that are working there. Thank you for showing up every day, putting your you know, life on the line in some ways. You know, certainly your health on the line. And thanks for doing that. and for the people that are working in hospitals and doctors and the, you know, the services, people who are working in grocery stores. Thank you. How important you are to keep this thing together as we go through it. And you know, from the information that I've read about what's going on with this virus, is that I think we're all going to get it eventually, and that's okay. Most of us, it'll be fine. And keep yourself well hydrated, right? Well rested. Meditate, 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 meditate. Hydrate, hydrate, and meditate. And breathe. Okay, love you guys, and I feel better. I feel like I've just done a fifth step with the world, you know, and the fifth step is that we is confession, really, and so thanks for listening, and if anybody just wants to talk, I'm available. Just call and we can chat, and hopefully, you know, you just want to talk, we can listen, yeah. Hey Pat, glad you're there. Brenna, Ivan, awesome that you guys dropped in this morning, and Kathy and Jess. I say the names, I feel like Mr. Rogers. Okay, love you guys, and hang in there. This will pass. This too shall pass. You know, and reach out to your friends today. Make at least a half a dozen phone calls every day to people that you know, just to say, hey, how you doing? How you doing? You know, share your love that way. Okay, thanks so much. Talk soon. Bye.